I just want to say I really appreciate having the offer to have me present tonight. So thank you, Multnomah County Master Gardeners Association, for inviting me. And I also want to thank Alice for letting me host my cooking and demonstration in her home kitchen. We were joking that my home kitchen might have been a little bit funny with my kids coming in the background, getting milk out of the fridge or something funny like that. My background, like Jack said, I've had a extensive experience with farming and cooking, and my farming background started at Food Waves, which is a nonprofit educational farm that focuses on small scale intensive agriculture and training. And in 2013, I was a full-time intern there and learned everything from seeding to irrigation to basically from seed to market and everything in between around building and business development skills. And so that really set me up to start my own farm, Ginger Mountain Farmstead. And I focused a lot on trying to build up a farm that could preserve enough food for my own family, as well as bring it to markets. I had a market stand at several like climbing gyms and local areas, as well as providing produce to several restaurants in the Portland area and in Carlton. So from there, I did change directions for a while, but ultimately I've come back and have created a new vision through farming and food education. The Community Farm Collaborative, which is my business in home garden consulting, as well as teaching people on the farm how to harvest or how to grow things a certain way so that it's sustainable for their families and friends, or however they want to share food. And then eventually we'll have more community food dinners where people can come and join in the experience, where they're harvesting, helping to prepare a meal with local chefs and myself, and then share a meal together, and just really build community through food. My cooking background, along with farming, you learn a lot about cooking and how to use ingredients. And I learned through several classes, old world butchery techniques, and just kept searching world cuisines on how to use interesting ingredients and be able to not just eat steamed veggies and say, oh, that was great. So really kind of incorporating lots of different ingredients together and creating a really nice meal. With my interim chef experience at C'est Bon, I helped to bring a vision of actually growing the food, curating a menu with food, and then cooking at the restaurant with it. And that was such a great experience to have people see the full journey of where the food came from and be able to have them enjoy it. So the reason why I chose this Indian dish, when I first started really learning how to cook, I decided to jump right into Indian food. Well, if any of you have ever cooked Indian, you know that it's quite an experience. There's a lot of ingredients, most of them simple, a lot of spices really, and there's a lot of prep work. But when you combine these super simple ingredients, you get these really intense flavor, complex flavors that are so just warming and enjoyable. And but it definitely takes a little bit of time to understand how to combine them without I was thinking of my first experience cooking with black mustard seeds, and I thought it was kind of witchcraft because I put them in the pot and they just started exploding everywhere. So it's definitely a journey that you learn, but my advice to you is just keep trying. And with Indian food, if you have everything prepped in little containers or bowls, or even chopped on your chopping block, having it all in order will make it so much more enjoyable and less stressful. So tonight, this is one of the dishes that I thought would be really fun to incorporate some end of summer vegetables from the farm. So Eggplant Bharta, like Jack said, contains eggplant and tomatoes. These are this is traditionally like a more of like a Japanese or Chinese eggplant, and most of the Eggplant Bharta recipes call for a bell-shaped eggplant, but I like to use these mainly because the skins are thin. They're a little bit more tender. So those are what I'm using tonight because I didn't grow any bell pepper or bell eggplants on the farm this year. And the mix of tomatoes that I have are a few heirlooms. You could really use any fresh tomatoes or canned too if you don't have any tomatoes on hand and you want to, or maybe you have canned your summer harvest tomatoes. That's another way you can incorporate them. But I have some black brandy wines as well as these Washington cherries, which have a really kind of I didn't really like them at first, to be honest. I was gonna ditch the whole plants this year, but I decided to throw them in some pasta, and I was really surprised. They were so good in the pasta, but not so great for fresh eating. The skins are a little bit thicker and they're pretty acidic. So I'm going to use them in the dish tonight. The other ingredients that we have are onions. We have grew the most beautiful onions this year, and I think some of the largest shallots that could have been maybe world record shallots. They were like this large. I don't know why they were so big. But this is one of the onions from the farm, and other ingredients that come from the farm are the garlic, these bueno mulatto peppers or chilies. These are my newfound favorite chili. They're similar to a cayenne, but they have a lot more flavor and sweetness, and the heat is more in the back of your mouth and warming rather than maybe more in the front and peppery. And my favorite part, oops, I didn't mean to throw them in the pile here. They start out bright purple on the plant, and as they ripen, they go through a full range of yellows and lavenders to orange and then a deep red. Most of these have been out for a little while, so they're more on the red side, but I have some pictures on my Instagram of the range of colors. I've also been fermenting these and making fermented hot sauce, putting them in other things like salsas, and they're so prolific and they have such great flavor. So I would really recommend bueno mulattos if you want to grow some. Other ingredients that I didn't get from the farm, I don't grow ginger. I don't have the kind of greenhouse requirements, so I got store-bought organic ginger. And then some of the spices. So the spices that I'm going to use tonight are cumin and whole cumin seeds and coriander. So the coriander is actually from the cilantro that had flowered, and I suggest that if you do grow cilantro, just let it go to flower, because one, the bees love it. They go crazy over it. And then you can grind up the seeds for coriander. Cinnamon, of course, I didn't grow cinnamon, or cardamom, or black pepper, or the salt. But these are all some of the spices that we'll be using in the dish tonight. So to start, there's a lot of different varieties and ways that different areas in India prepare this dish. I think it's kind of like maybe like a spaghetti sauce. Like everybody has their own take on the spaghetti sauce. But one way that you can prepare the eggplant, which I've done tonight, is I've grilled it on a barbecue, so it gets a really good smoky flavor. And so all you would need to do is wash your eggplant. You can put a slit in the side and insert a garlic clove in there while you're roasting it on the barbecue. Wipe a little bit of oil on the eggplant, and then I would spend maybe 10-15 minutes, depending on your flame and bed of coals, to grill the eggplant. And the eggplant, once finished, it looks like this. It should be pretty soft and mushy, and it should be pretty easily peeled. I like these because you can peel the skins fairly easily. With the globe or bell-shaped eggplants, you can dip them in cold water ice bath to release the skins, or sometimes just taking a little paring knife, slicing it down the edge, whoops, and just peeling the skins off. If you don't get all of the skins off of these Japanese or Chinese style eggplants, it's fine. They are edible, probably more so than a bell eggplant. Then what I'll do is I have some already chopped here, but I'll just chop this one up and add it to the rest of the bowl. And it can just be coarsely chopped. It doesn't need to be fine. If you are using a bell eggplant, it'd be good to drain it. Sometimes, especially after an ice water bath, it might get pretty waterlogged, which is why I like to just peel mine instead of doing the ice bath. But it should be pretty mushy. And so just coarsely chopped is great. Okay. The next step is we are going to start our heat in our pan, and you can use a wok or a deep dish pan like this, which is called a kadi or a chati. It's kind of like an Indian style stir fry pan, and you probably want to put the heat on like medium high. You can use any kind of high heat oil. I like to use avocado oil, but you can also add a little bit of ghee into your pot as well. And I would say about 3 tablespoons should be good. I'll let that come up to a little bit of heat first. And now we'll put in the cumin seeds to release some of the aromatics of the cumin in the oil before we start cooking the onions. So we'll let those sit in there for a few minutes. You want the cumin seeds to turn kind of brown, and it'll start to release like really nice cumin or aromatics. give that just a little bit. It's starting to bubble, you can't see it. And I'm gonna turn the fan on. Okay. The amount of onion that you can put in here is about 2 cups. These are really large onions. So as you can see, this is a lot of chopped onion. And it's just kind of coarsely chopped. It doesn't have to be minced. But I like onion. I like extra garlic. So I just kind of wing it. Right, these are getting pretty nice and browned. Put the onion in. And when you're cooking the onion, you want to make sure the oil is coated all over the onion. And we're going to cook these for a little while until the edges become nice and brown. I would say usually at home or when I cook this meal, browning the onions takes, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. So I'll let those sit for a little bit. While those are cooking, one thing that I like to do is, since I prepped everything for the night, what I'll tend to do is get the onions cooking and then maybe start chopping my next ingredients, like the ginger and the garlic. One thing I wanted to show you is, if you haven't ever used ginger that much, for this recipe, it calls for about a teaspoon, but what I like to do is take my thumb and snap off, oops, that amount, and that's about a teaspoon. And you don't want to necessarily peel ginger. One thing that I learned is, if you take a spoon and just gently pull back the skin, it doesn't take as much of the ginger part off, and it just kind of lightly peels it, and it's really easy with a spoon. So that's one thing that you can do with your ginger. And with this ginger, we wanted it minced, and so that's about a little over a teaspoon or so that I've minced up all. I'm going to try to heat up just a little more. Get these onions browning. I wish you all could smell the flavors on this cutting board. This is the one thing that I wish we had, is like a smellometer in our webinars, because cooking with Indian food, it's so aromatic and smells so wonderful, that I'm sorry that you all are missing out on the wonderful smells. Maybe one day you can come out to the farm and have a makeup experience. So let those cook a little bit more. While those are cooking, I can talk about this type of garlic that we grew this year. It was so beautiful. It's purple, and it is a hardneck variety. I'm not sure of the variety name, because it was given to my partner Matthew by his brother. And so he planted a bunch, but it's so beautiful. It dries wonderful. Probably doesn't have as long-term storage as like a Sakna variety, but I think we'll probably use it all before it goes bad. In my household, we use about, a head of garlic a week, maybe, with all the Italian and Indian cooking that we do. Give these another stir. So starting to brown up on the edges a little bit, which is nice. Got another stir. I know one thing I forgot to mention was the other methods of preparing the eggplant for this dish. So while that's cooking, let me tell you the other ways. One other way, if you don't have a barbecue grill, you can use a broiler or like 450-degree oven. A broiler is nice because it will get the kind of charcoalized like outside and like kind of start to caramelize some of the juices on the inside. If you are using a bell-shaped eggplant, I would say about 40 minutes in a 450-degree oven. Definitely a lot less with the thinner, longer varieties of eggplant. I've also heard other ways. If you have an air fryer, you could air fry your eggplants. I have not tried this version yet. But the grilling really gives this eggplant such a like good smoky flavor. You get a little bit of that when you broil it, but definitely not as much smoke that imparts into the meat of the eggplant. All right, these are almost done. They've got, see if I can show you what it looks like. Put it in a little bit of a container here. So you can see the edges are just starting to brown, and that's about where we want to be. Give it a little bit more. Okay, so our next step is to add a few ingredients. So we want to add the ginger and the garlic, and I cut up and minced 3 bueno mulattos. That might seem like a lot, but I noticed with this particular variety that when you cook it, some of the spiciness diminishes. So I put an extra one in there, but you can always put as much pepper, chili spice level to your liking. So when you add the ginger and the garlic, you might want to turn the heat down to like a medium, a little bit above medium so that it doesn't burn. And you want to stir it constantly. So I'm going to add the ginger. And the garlic. I'm going to give that a little stir before I add the peppers. And you can smell that ginger and the garlic and onions. And with a lot of Indian dishes, this tends to be the base. So you fry the onion, and then once it's browned or translucent, you add in the ginger and the garlic, and then Usually it's a combination of spices, peppers, if it's a spicier dish. So now I'm gonna add the Guatemala chilies. Stir those in and make sure my base is back. Sometimes the aromatics are really spicy chilies can like kind of make you cough. So I would step back a little bit. So you probably just want to stir this for a minute or so just to kind of get those flavors melted together. And that smells so good. And so now we're gonna add in our tomatoes. I'm going to, usually you probably want to strain these. So there's quite a bit of liquid on the bottom. So just like drain them in a little colander. So I'm gonna add them in by hand. Okay. And that's about, it's probably a little over a cup, which is fine. They melt away really fast. And then on top of that, we have a spice mixture. It's a quarter, or I'm sorry, an eighth, about an eighth to a quarter of fine ground black pepper. And then we have the one ingredient that I like to get at a Indian grocery market is Kashmiri pepper. And down. The reason I like this Kashmiri pepper is these Kashmiri peppers, they have like a really fruity, smoky flavor, and it tends to be really great with the smoky eggplant and some of the other dishes. But if you don't have a market near you or want to use something else, cayenne pepper works just the same. And then we'll have about a half a teaspoon of ground coriander. So I'm gonna mix that all in on top of the tomatoes and onion mixture and give that a good stir. And just check the heat to make sure it's not burning. And it might kind of burn a little on the bottom if you don't stir it right away like I'm doing. So just kind of give it a good mix. And then we've got a teaspoon and a half of salt, and you can adjust this per your salt intake. I use this Hawaiian red salt that I just love with flavor because it's so buttery. So I'm gonna add that in. Give that a mix. So right now, your mixture should look kind of like this, if you can see that. So the tomatoes are starting to juice, all the onions are brown, the spices are mixed together. And you want this to be on kind of a medium high heat, because when we add in the eggplant, we don't want it to get into like a paste, but more like a pate type of texture. So let me add in the chopped eggplant that we fire roasted. And it gets pretty like gooey if you haven't ever worked with cooked eggplant. Oh, that tastes good already. And so stir that. And you're kind of looking for like a lumpy pate. Right, so we'll just kind of keep stirring that a little bit. If you do use a globe or a bell-shaped eggplant instead of these, it might be beneficial to kind of mash it with a potato masher because there's just so much more meat. Whereas in here, they just kind of melt away. So that's one other thing you can do if you use a different type of eggplant that I'm using tonight. All right. And while that's kind of cooking and turning into a pate, I want to talk to you about some of the spices that go into the garam masala. You can get garam masala, which just is a mixture of cinnamon. I've got cinnamon, cardamom, and black pepper and coriander. So I would suggest using whole ingredients, whole spice ingredients, and make this as you need it. You're gonna get so much more aromatics and really potent flavors than using a already ground store-bought garam masala. It's really easy to make your own too. If you have a spice grinder or a coffee grinder, just clean out the coffee grounds, of course, unless you like the coffee smokiness. And it's just equal parts. So equal parts black pepper, coriander. You'll want to seed deep pod your cardamoms. And usually I like to just use like something to pound it open, and you'll get all these cardamom seeds that you can add into. I'm having a hard time picking them up. You can get these cardamom seeds, and I think half a teaspoon. I think I used half a teaspoon on equal parts, and it's about 6 cardamom pods. So you don't need a whole lot of cardamom pods. And then it's really easy to just put all this in a spice grinder and grind it up so it's nice and ground powder. And it's so much fresher and aromatic. But if you do have to use a store-bought garam masala, just double the amount that you're going to put into the recipe. All right, so I'm going to turn this down a little bit because it is getting into a nice pate. Let me show you what this looks like. And I'm going to turn the heat off, because we don't want it to turn into a paste. So it's got like a nice kind of pate texture to it. All right, and for the garam masala, it's you just kind of sprinkle it on as an after you cook it. That way some of the spices don't get bitter. So I'm gonna use maybe like half a teaspoon at first and see if that tastes good. Sprinkle it on. Gonna mix it in. Oh, and that the cardamom, the fresh cardamom, and all those fresh spices, they smell so good. I'm gonna add just a little bit more. All right, and like a lot of other Indian dishes, fresh cilantro is always a great topper. This one you can put as much or as little as you want. I have about 2 tablespoons here. I might not use all of it, but just kind of sprinkle some on top, like so. And I like to just kind of like lightly poke it into the dish so that it absorbs flavor, but doesn't cook and turn like a brown color. So it keeps that freshness to it. All right. So traditionally, this is eaten with like roti, or I have some naan here. I did not make this, but you can warm up some naan, put a little ghee, and try your creation. So let me see if it needs any more salt or anything else. Some good tomato. I think it could use a little more salt. And I might have overdone it on the peppers just a little bit. I was too ambitious. I think I ran out of salt. Well, I would have put a little bit more salt, but it's up to you on what flavor and how much salt you want to use. That's spicy. Wow. That cashmere pepper is spicy, and then I think the Bueno Mulattoes are really spicy, but it's so good. It's like a warm spicy on the back of your palate, and just such a great like warming dish for the fall. So I think that is the recipe. I'll show it so you can see what it looks like up close. It's a little good. I wish you could smell it. And I invite you to ask me any questions you would like about the recipe or the farm or anything you would like.
Thank you, Alicia. That looks delicious.
It is, it's really good. It's warming me up. Can you see like my face is getting nice and red?
Yeah, yes, actually, you can. If you were serving this, what might you serve it with?
Yeah, that's a great question. I make a lot of other I eat meat, so I have a butter chicken dish that I usually make, or like a chicken korma. Another like one of my go-to staples is spinach pachadi, and it is so wonderful. It's a little bit different than sag, which is a spinach, usually has paneer, which is the cheese in it.
Mm.
But pachadi, it's spinach, onion, cumin, and black mustard seeds, and some chilies and bay leaves, and yogurt. And it's really simple ingredients, and it is like the best. Every time I make it, people are like, I've never had spinach this way. It is my new favorite way to cook spinach. Speaking of, this is the first Indian cookbook that I got. As you can see, it's very well worn with lots of my favorite recipes. It has a lot of curries in it, which is why it's called For Curried Favors. And it has the spinach pachadi recipe, and it has a version of this recipe in it as well. So I'll put it up there in case you want to take a quick look. It might be backwards, but the author's name.
No, it looks good. It looks good.
Okay, on my end, it's backwards. The author's name is Maya Kayamal. That's a great,
I am all. Okay.
it's a great one. And I have lots of different Indian cookbooks, and that one's by far the best flavor combinations.
Excellent. Well, some
Um,
questions. Some
Another
questions. Go
dish,
ahead. Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Continue. No,
Dish
no.
that if you're vegetarian, to add a little bit of protein to complement the vegetables is like a tor dal. So a dal dish with
Yeah.
lentils, or it's actually like I think it's part of the lentil family, but it's called tor dal. And it looks like a yellow lentil. So
I
So
believe I've had that, and I believe it is lentil based, but yeah,
yeah,
that's what I'm thinking of. Some people asked about the recipe, and we'll be sending out an email for people who registered as a follow-up to this, and we'll attach a copy of the recipe to that email. So that the recipe that you'll be providing.
yes, I will. I can provide the recipe, and again, it is in that curried favors. There are a few things that I did a little bit different, like grilling the eggplant, my eggplant choice, some of my tomato choices and chili choices.
Speaking of the chili, Buena Mulata.
Yeah,
And, and
buena colada.
we put that in the chat. Buena as in the Spanish Buena, Buena,
That's correct.
Mulata, Mulata.
Yes.
And you grew those at the farm?
Yes,
And
they're so beautiful. Like they're the chilies they come out bright purple, like the color of this eggplant, and they're so vibrant. And so
you showed us the range of color on the
yeah,
palette.
and I have a better picture on my Instagram
Yeah.
of the whole range of colors as well as what the plant looks like, but they are so prolific. Out of two plants, think like quantity wise, because pounds is kind of hard to tell. I could probably fill up a whole gallon jar just off of two plants, like light picking worth of peppers.
Do you by chance have a recommended seed source, or
Yeah,
where do you?
this was the first year that I tried Buena Mulatas. For some reason, I try to grow hot things in Oregon, and I don't know why, because sometimes usually they don't get very good flavor, um, being in the Pacific Northwest, but these particular chilies were just so great. And so I get a lot of my seeds from the Rare Seeds, which is part of Baker Creek catalog. They have a lot of kind of heirloom or heritage seeds that people have collected and saved over time. And I like to try lots of different things that look fun to grow and sound like they taste good. And this one is one of the showstoppers.
Let's see. You talked about difference of the eggplants, the globe eggplants versus the Asian style eggplants. And when you're using the globe eggplants, again, people were asking, you do roast those whole.
Yes.
I think you mentioned a 40 or 50 degree oven or a grill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Wash it and oil it first, you were
the
saying.
only thing that's different is how long you're going to cook them in the oven or grill them for, just because their mass in the center is quite a bit more, and so compared to something like this, it's quite
Sure.
a bit quicker. So like for instance, these on the grill took me maybe 10 minutes to get them soft, and so the skins peel off really easy, and that's really what you're looking for, is like that
The peelability.
peel like releasing from the eggplant meat, so that you don't necessarily have to dunk it into ice water. The bell or globe shaped eggplants also have a lot thicker skin than these thin varieties, and so I like to use them because they're so much more versatile and pretty tasty. And
Excellent.
I feel like here they actually grow better than the globe ones, for me at least, and they are a little bit more prolific than the bell-shaped ones.
Makes sense. Um, Someone asked a question about your grilling or charring the eggplant on the grill. Have you ever done that with tomatoes associated with this recipe? Because
Oh, with this
you were
recipe.
chopping fresh tomatoes that you were then draining in a colander. But someone asked for more smokiness. Have you ever done it with tomatoes?
I haven't, just because I mean, unless you had a really large tomato that wasn't very watery, I think if you use like something like an heirloom, it's gonna just kind of melt away really fast. So you'd probably want to use something more like a paste tomato, has more meat and less water content if you're gonna grill them. Um,
But you're going for a certain quantity of chopped tomato of however you're preparing it. Okay.
yeah, it's about a cup of chopped tomatoes,
And
but
the
I usually add more just because they melt away fast.
and the proportion of eggplant, I don't recall what you said.
Oh, yeah. So the proportion of eggplant is, if you're using the bell, just one large bell that's 8 to 10 inches long. Uh, I used three, actually, I'm sorry, I used four of these. So mine
So it
might,
looked like you had approximately 2 cups of chopped eggplant or so.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, about 2 cups of chopped eggplant, a cup plus of chopped tomatoes, and then 2 cups of onions. Um, and again, like I'm never like super prescriptive on like the
It's approximate. Okay.
ingredients, just because I like a lot of garlic. And I like,
So do I, but I know people who don't. Okay. Um, Heating, the cooking. You started out, you heated your that was a nice little walkie skillet there. You
yeah,
had you heated oil and then you put in the cumin seed first. And I wasn't clear how hot you were starting out.
yeah. So you want your oil to be warm, and when you put the cumin seeds in, if they kind of start to bubble, then that's great. If you're using like a flatter skillet, they'll brown a lot faster because the depth of the oil will be different dispersed across your pan. So it might be a little bit less time if you're doing it in like a skillet versus like a wok or a kadi.
Kati, that's a Indian cooking.
Kadi, chati, they have all these different names for an Indian style wok. My husband, he also has picked up cooking Indian food, and so he was very excited and went on this like week-long hunt for this particular dish.
Uh, then you raise the heat when you put the onion in.
The
That was
heat,
the longest thing, is waiting for the onions to brown, it
yeah,
seemed.
yeah. So the heat on the onions was probably like medium high, just because you want to brown them and not let them like saute and get juicy. You want them to brown on the edges, and so at medium high, depending on like your heating source too. So like this is gas versus an electric heat might be completely different at your
Sure.
home. So just kind of like base it off of how things are sounding and smelling. So if it's just kind of lightly bubbling, like your onions, and they're creating juices, maybe turn the heat up a little bit more so it gets a nice crisp.
Then at the end, you threw the eggplant in, and by that point, if I recall, you brought the heat down and you
Yeah,
were
I
stirring constantly.
adjusted the heat. Uh, like I turned the heat down a little bit for the garlic and the ginger so it wouldn't stick, because that was really hot heat in the onions to fry the edges. So I turned it down just a little bit, stirred it, and then added in the chopped tomatoes, the spice mixture, and the spice mixture will kind of stick and brown to the bottom, and that's completely fine. Once you add in the the eggplant and the rest of the spices, just turn it up just a little bit so it doesn't just kind of bubble in its own juices. And then you just kind of looking for that like pate texture.
It's like a fancy flavorful baba ganoush.
Yes.
Making this.
And spicy.
So, yeah. Um, there's some questions about the pot, the cooking pot, um, which I admit is new to me. Um, the advantage of that, any comments on, I mean, it's a cool looking pot. The, um, why should we all get one of those? Let's see. Or,
You don't
yeah.
have to get a
No,
pot.
I understand, but the
Uh,
advantage of that style, it's
I
kind of a
think
flat bottomed wok.
especially with gas heat, it's nice because it comes up over the edges and it provides a lot of full coverage. I think I have an electric glass cooktop and it doesn't cook the same. So
Hmm.
if you're making like kormas or something that need to simmer, this is great. But if you're looking to do more of like a dry, I mean, we all have what we have in our kitchens, and I just
But
suggest
it's,
use what you have. You don't need to buy a fancy pot.
no, but
I
people
think
are intrigued by it because it's new. I'm intrigued by it.
this one is called a Bergner. I would have to ask my husband which place he got it, but I know it was shipped from India. So
There you go.
there you
Okay.
go.
Maybe there's a note in the chat of source for the pepper, an Indian supermarket in Beaverton on Corridor Court. I'm not familiar with it, but maybe
Yeah, it's
they
called
have.
the Indian Connection, and it's a really great market. They have a ton of stuff. They even have this wonderful little Indian cafe in the side of their market that has really great food actually. This particular brand is called Everest Kashmiri Lal. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Uh,
Yeah,
but it
we
does
can say
have like
that.
a light smokiness, whereas cayenne tends to not have that like smokiness and fruity flavor.
Um, some people are intrigued. You were talking about the peppers, the Buena Colada, and you grow other peppers as well. Apparently, you had a good year, as I did with my peppers. Are you got any comments on storing peppers? Do you freeze them? Do you dry them? Do you?
That's a great question. I have been trying to find every way to preserve the 20 plus plants that produce gallons of peppers. So I have fermented using a brine ferment with some garlic, and those have been turning out really great. I'm about ready to make some fermented hot sauce with my brother, which will be fun.
Yeah.
My brother took a whole bunch of them, and he took pears from my other brother's farm, from his pear tree, and is making a chili pear infused vodka. These are really easy to dry, especially if you have a food dehydrator. Have one of the small, I think they're called like Nebsco, starts with an N. I can't remember the name brand, but they're
Nesco, that is a food dehydrator
like
brand. Yeah.
like the white ones, and I think they're like $35-40. But I could pack a whole bunch of these. I usually just cut the top off and put them on there whole, and they
Without de-seeding it.
yeah, I don't de-seed them. I keep them whole, and then keep it on like 95, and between 95 and like 105
Degrees of drying.
degrees. Yeah, so like the herbs, I think it's the herbs setting, which is 95, but that took I think like 3 days of drying. So I turned it up a little bit more because I didn't want to like cook them. I wanted them to dry pretty slow, so they retain the color. So once they're completely dried, and there's no moisture left in them, if you do have a few that have some moisture left on, stick them back on the dryer separately. And then what you can do, in India, they use a mechanical grinder, so it like smashes them into a really fine powder, like Kashmiri powder. But we don't have a lot of those, readily available in our home kitchens. So using just a coffee grinder or spice grinder, and do small batches will mimic probably a Kashmiri pepper. Or you dry them whole, you put them in a food safe bag and seal them, or even like a jar, and you can throw them in soups and other dishes whole, and they impart such a nice flavor. Like we chopped up some of these and put them in a chicken tortilla soup, and it was just a right amount of heat and really, really flavorful. Other things, I haven't frozen them, primarily for
I've been doing that recently myself, but yeah.
freezing. Yeah, I don't have any more freezer space, so I'm
Makes a difference.
resorting to fermenting, pressure canning, and drying peppers.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, we're approaching the end of the hour, and I think we've covered all the questions that have been presented. And I'm, I want to comment on your good technique of leaning back after you added the pepper to the pot, so you didn't get it in your eyes or your nose. That was I could take a note from that.
Yeah, I've had quite a few times where I'm sitting over here stirring and and it just like it chokes your throat, and
Yeah.
so sometimes when they're hot, you just got to stay back a little bit.
Let's see, maybe there's another question here. Let's see. Let's see. I think I got them all. Let me double check. No, we covered them. Um, any last comments from you before we sign off?
Yeah, thank you again for hosting this and allowing me to share my cooking and my farm. And I have a website, it's the Community Farm Collaborative.
Community Farm Collaborative.
Communityfarmcollaborative.com. On there, I haven't been posting as much because we're working on developing next year's series of classes and garden education, and some of our last dinners are wrapping up this coming weekend, actually. So
But someone could go to the website and see a range of the events that you've held and get a sense of what you're about.
I have I have some information on the website, but I also post quite a bit of pictures and things on Instagram.
And
I
what is your Instagram? How would someone access you on Instagram?
think it's just, let me look at the tag.
Sure.
I forgot. I think if you just look up Community Farm Collaborative, it should.
Okay. So that's it's not your name, it's the Community Farm Collaborative
Yeah.
Instagram page. Okay.
Yeah, it's just Community Farm Collaborative is the name on
Okay.
Instagram. Yeah, please follow the page, and I love to post a lot of photos that are really artistic, and looking at vegetables as art. I have a photo of like all the garlic lined up with the beautiful purple colors, and just a lot of different shots of the farm this season. It's been a lot of
Excellent.
fun.
Excellent. Well, Alicia, on behalf of Multnomah County Master Gardeners, I thank you for sharing your time and doing this presentation.
There
And
is one question that just came in.
oh, well, yes.
Is the farm open to the public?
Ah, is the
It is
farm.
not an open public farm, but if you are curious about coming to do a farm tour, you can email or reach out to me and we can set something up.
Thank you. In the chat, someone, should you has just put a link to the farm's webpage. But you can Google Community Farm Collaborative to get more information. And as Alicia mentioned, she's putting a lot of information on Instagram for those that are Instagram members. So thank you again to all the attendees. Appreciate your attention. We'll
I
be
also have
back.
Facebook too, and it goes to Facebook as well.
Okay, yeah. All right. We're about to sign off, but thank you everyone who's come.
Great. I wish I could have shared this all with you, but you might turn red.
How long will that last?
Um, in my house, probably not very long.
If someone made it and refrigerated it, it would keep for several days, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot that goes bad fast. It doesn't have any meat or dairy. So, as long as you're using like fresh vegetables and I don't know, the way that I grow and like wash and prepare all of our produce, it lasts sometimes for like we had lettuces lasting for like 3 or 4 weeks.
Hmm.
It stays
Well,
fresh.
so I assume you'll be out in the garden or farm tomorrow harvesting more things, eh?
Wait, what is tomorrow? Tomorrow's a work and school day.
Oh, okay, okay. You have a multi
I
phase
have
life.
2
You got
teenagers. They're 14 and 15.
there's a word job in itself. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again and good
Great.
night,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.